Hello, good evening. I'm Roger Johnson. Welcome to North West Tonight. Thank you for being with us on this Monday evening. Our top story. Could Rochdale's child abuse scandal happen again? Well, we've had exclusive access to the team, which is out on the streets trying to prevent it.
We don't sit back on our laurels and wait for things to be reported to us. We want to go out there, speak to the community, and speak to young people.
But a police officer who quit over the way the abuse was handled says that the police are still letting victims down. Also tonight, we expose the scammers demanding ransoms for missing pets, which they don't even have. He's gone from the Northern Premier to the Asian Cup. We'll chat to the Radcliffe defender turning out for Hong Kong. We'll hear from the youngster reunited with his dad in Ukraine thanks to his school friends in Manchester.
And it's a cold week. We do have the risk of snow flurries coming our way. We've got yellow warnings in force. Bring with it then the risk of ice as well. So lots in the forecast. Join me at the end of the programme. I'll give you all the details.
Organised and widespread child sexual abuse in Rochdale by gangs of Asian men was ignored for years by the police and the council. That's according to a report which came out today, which also found that the fact that children were too frightened to give evidence was used as an excuse not to investigate further by the police and other agencies. The report worryingly also identifies 96 men who are still being regarded as a potential risk to children. You might find some of the content in Kevin Fitzpatrick's report this evening upsetting.
For years, girls as young as 13 were horrifically abused in Rochdale, but when they finally asked for help, victims found themselves judged, blamed and disbelieved. Sometimes they were even arrested themselves.
They just didn't care. They just didn't care one bit. We was telling them what was happening, crying to them, and they just didn't do anything.
Today's report lays bare the deplorable failings of Greater Manchester Police and Rochdale Council between 2004 and 2013. As a result, many of the men involved have never been brought to justice.
I offer my heartfelt apology to all of those victims whom we let down so badly.
I know that no amount of apology or contrition can ever repair the awful damage that was done to the lives of the victims and survivors.
The review considered the cases of 111 children and found there was a significant probability that 74 of them were being sexually exploited. In 48 cases, there were serious failures from the authorities to protect the child, but it's thought there were many more than this. GMP left young victims to be harassed and intimidated by men who'd previously abused them, sometimes at gunpoint. The force secretly took the aborted fetus of a 13-year-old grooming victim for a DNA test and kept it without telling the girl or her parents. And GMP also took no action when a 15-year-old girl gave birth to a child from her abuser. On the rare occasions police did investigate, they were underfunded. Sarah Rowbottom and her colleagues at the borough's crisis intervention team were told to forget about it, but she's campaigned relentlessly for the truth to come out.
Asking us to draw a line was beyond belief. We couldn't believe that no one wanted to protect the young people or to track down and prosecute perpetrators. This made me ill. It made the whole team ill.
Some police officers refused to cooperate with this review, and Andy Burnham is writing to the Home Secretary, calling for powers to force public officials to.
I don't see how they can look themselves in the mirror and justify that decision. You know, always in life you've got to be prepared to be held to account, to contribute if asked to do so, and particularly people paid by the public purse.
In total, 42 men have been convicted in connection with Rochdale grooming gangs, while a similar number of alleged offenders are due in court soon. The report, though, identifies nearly 100 men who are still considered a risk to children in the borough, and it leaves many victims still wondering how it was allowed to happen.
I was a looked-after child. Parental rights were taken away from my mum and dad, so if somebody has parental rights for me, somebody must be held accountable for what happened to me as a child.
Kevin Fitzpatrick, BBC North West Tonight.
If you've watched the programme for a while, you'll know that's a story that we've covered many times on North West Tonight. But in the wake of the scandal, a specialist unit was created in Rochdale, including police, social workers and NHS staff, to root out abusers and to protect victims. The mantra of it, according to the leading detective, is never again. He says that he's 100% confident that previous horrors could not be repeated. But child abuse campaigners say that victims are still being failed. And our social affairs correspondent, Abby Jones, has this exclusive report.
For 15 years, the horrific abuse of young girls in Rochdale has cast a long shadow over the town and over the agencies who failed repeatedly the vulnerable victims they were meant to protect. Trying to repair that broken trust and reach children at risk is the Sunrise team. For the last few weeks, I've been given exclusive access to their work.
There's no specific training in place, really, then you kind of...
Acting on information from the public, they've been visiting hotels, using undercover officers to try to book rooms with a child and educating staff about exploitation.
We're out here today being proactive because we don't think it's a massive issue, but we know it probably goes on in hotels, so we want to stop it happening before it happens. You said there's about 8 or 9 staff members. So we're going into the hotel, speaking with the staff, educating them, making sure that they're aware of the signs.
We're well established, the Sunrise team at Rochdale. For obvious reasons of the history here, and we get a lot of intelligence from lots of different people, lots of different partner agencies, and we want to act on that. But for me, that's not enough. We need to be going out into the community, targeting people who we think may exploit children.
Some of those on the team's radar are unscrupulous vape shops, which sell illegal, often super-strength vapes to children. When I went out with the team in December, they seized nearly 2,000. They say vapes are being used to groom children, with some shopkeepers asking for sexual favours in return.
If someone came to you now, as a child or a parent, how confident are you they would be listened to, that their case would be followed all the way through?
I'm absolutely confident that the safeguarding wraparound that we put on victims and the family is brilliant. It's second to none here at Rochdale. When we have had reports of victims or potential victims of exploitation, we've moved rapidly to arrest perpetrators and gather evidence, and that sends a clear message out.
I am telling you that the failures I saw in Rochdale back in 2011 and 12 are still happening today.
Maggie Oliver, the former GMP detective who exposed the failings in the Rochdale abuse investigations, now runs her own foundation, working with survivors. She says she's recently been approached by families of at-risk children in the town who say they can't get the police to act.
There is a complete lack of urgency about these cases, that they drag on for months and months and months. There is a lack of consistency of officers, lack of victim care, lack of adequate resourcing, and we are going to be in the same position exactly in another 10 years with different victims unless the leadership, unless they get a grip of the system that is not working. We can get this right, but there needs to be honesty about what is wrong.
GMP says it meets monthly with the Maggie Oliver Foundation so action can be taken on concerns. It says exploitation investigations take time and the force does try to ensure survivors have a single point of contact.
Are you confident that what happened in Rochdale with the grooming scandals couldn't happen again now?
100% confident. We don't want that to happen ever again here, and I don't think any police officer, be it at my level or on the streets, want that to happen ever again. We're massively changed. I think the culture's changed. I think society are much more aware of it because of these high-profile cases.
Cases that have tarnished the reputation of this town, which will take time to recover, but which have forged a shared determination that never again must abused children be disbelieved, discarded and denied justice. Abby Jones, BBC North West Tonight, Rochdale.
Next tonight, the Sun newspaper has apologised for a headline in yesterday's print edition about the collapse of a fan at Bolton Wanderers match on Saturday. The game was abandoned after lifelong supporter Ian Purslow was taken ill. He was given CPR but died in hospital. The Sun says that its headline was insensitive and sent its condolences to Mr Purslow's family and friends. A dog's been rescued from cliffs on the Isle of Man after being missing for 6 days. Dan, the border collie, was hoisted around 300 feet to safety by crews in Peel. Coast Guards have urged owners to keep their pets on leads when walking along coastal paths. And the iconic chandeliers in Blackpool's Tower Ballroom were taken down for their annual clean this afternoon. It's quite an operation to lower the 14 chandeliers to the floor. The 2 largest will take a fortnight to check, dust and polish, and Delboy and Rodney were not on the job. If you know the programme, you'll know what I mean. Now, a BBC North West Tonight investigation has found scammers are using social media to target the owners of missing pets. Police say that they are dealing with hundreds of cases where dog and cat owners have been threatened and blackmailed to hand over cash. Dan O'Donoghue has his exclusive report.
I'll tie the dog up, son. I want £300 bank transfer. Once you've got the dog, I want another £200.
A menacing voice at the end of the phone. In this recording, which the BBC has obtained, a blackmailer is demanding payment for a lost pet. It's one of hundreds of calls made to innocent pet owners in the last 2 years, leaving many people distraught and scared.
And no police involved. Any police involvement, mate, if I get my money, you'll get your dog tonight. Simple.
We found evidence of organised criminal gangs using lost pet social media posts to extort cash from owners. It's something Linda Tong from Tildesley had first-hand experience of.
I got a phone call from this guy who said that he had Lulu. He'd found Lulu, and I believed him because he was describing her as nervous, which she is, and shy. And I thought, it's the phone call that I've been waiting for, that I was going to get her back.
Linda's dog Lulu went missing last year, and after searching to no avail, Linda posted a plea on social media. It's then that the phone calls started. And
he started talking about money, how much money I should pay. I think he mentioned 2,000, then he came down to 1,000. And I said, I'm going to ring the police. He said, if you ring the police, you'll never see Lulu again.
Detective Inspector Amanda Sykes is leading a Cumbria Police investigation into social media pet scams.
We've identified over 200 victims, and that is countrywide. Whether we've identified absolutely everybody that's been offended against by this group of people, I'm not at all sure as it stands at this moment in time, but we've done everything that we can to try and establish all of the victims in this case.
Emma Taylor from Wigan has been left so scared that she doesn't want to show her face on camera. After her cat Ziggy went missing, she received a threatening call.
He said, listen, and his voice was getting more and more aggressive. He said, this is the way it's be. If you don't pay me £500, your cat's gone. And so I ran up to my partner and I just threw the phone at him and I said, someone's got Ziggy. So he just, he picked up the phone and he spoke to him. The things that he was saying, my partner then realised he was reading off the posters.
Emma gave a statement to Cumbria Police, and this led to the arrest of Brandon Woolveridge, who was convicted of 9 counts of blackmail and 1 count of theft and jailed for 44 months. But that hasn't put an end to Emma's torment. She still receives calls to this day.
He said, I want £1,000 or else I'll come back and burn your house down.
Whilst Linda was fortunate to be reunited with Lulu, Ziggy still hasn't been found. Cumbria Police are continuing to look into cases and advise pet owners to be wary of any caller who demands cash in return for information about their animals. Dan O'Donoghue, North West Tonight.
Now, 3 women who were accused of violent disorder at a hotel for asylum seekers in Merseyside last year have been found not guilty today at the direction of the judge. Trouble flared after videos circulated on social media, apparently showing one of the asylum seekers asking a teenage girl for her phone number and for a kiss. Well, Andy Gills at Liverpool Crown Court, he followed developments today. So first of all, Andy, just explain exactly why these 3 women have been found not guilty.
Well, Roger, serious disorder flared at the Sweets Hotel in Kirkby last February. Rocks and fireworks thrown at the police. A police carrier was set on fire and destroyed. 8 people have been on trial for violent disorder. But after legal argument today, the judge ruled that there was insufficient evidence to get a conviction on that charge for 3 women, Cheryl Nichols, Nicola Elliott and Jennifer Knox. He said there was not enough evidence to show that these women took part in or threatened violence or encouraged it. So on the direction of the judge, the jury found these 3 women not guilty and they were allowed to leave the dock.
So they walked free, Andy. However, 5 men are still on trial there, and the defence for them started today, didn't it? What was said?
That's right, 5 men still on trial. The first to present his defence today was Brian McPadden, who's from Kirkby. He said he went to the Sweets Hotel to protest peacefully against the asylum seekers. He said he'd seen videos of the asylum seekers, as he put it, chatting up all the young girls, and he said this made him feel sick. He said he would have felt the same way if it had been local youths chatting up the girls. Mr. McPadden, who's a grandfather, said he was embarrassed by some of the language that he'd used to police that night. There's a recording of him saying to the police, if they, meaning the asylum seekers, if they come out, they'll be dead. But he told his defence this wasn't a threat. He said, not by me. And he told the prosecution that these words were effectively advice to the police. He said that if the asylum seekers came out, he said they'd get filled in by the young lads. The prosecution played him video of him standing near to people who were seen throwing missiles at the police. But Mr. McPadden said that he did not take part in any violence that night, even though he spent just under 4 hours at the protest. Now, another of the men on trial here is a man called Thomas Mills, and today his barrister stood up and said that in his defence he was offering no evidence, and his barrister said that he'd told Mr. Mills that the jury could draw inferences from this lack of evidence in his case if the jury so wished. The trial will continue tomorrow.
Thank you, Andy. Andy Gilder, live in Liverpool for us. Kay's got the weather. Remember, there's snow potentially on the way at the end of the programme. Before that, we're going to move on to sport. Richard is here. I think Everton fans will feel it's a bit like déjà vu here.
They will, Roger.
In the last couple of hours, the club has said that it's facing new Premier League charges for allegedly breaking financial rules, and they've already been clobbered with a 10-point penalty.
You're right, Roger. We're expecting an announcement today, and as you say, it is unfortunately more bad news for the Blues, who are still waiting to hear about their appeal against a previous 10-point deduction, as you know, for financial rule breaches. This charge, like the previous one, is for sustaining losses above the permitted Premier League threshold of £105 million over a 3-season period. It relates to the 2022-23 season, while the original charge is for losses up until the previous campaign. In a statement, Everton say it results from a clear deficiency in the Premier League's rules, adding that it will continue to defend its position, but it now puts the club, who are just a point above the relegation zone, at risk of another points deduction. We won't find out, though, Roger, for some weeks, as the new case can't be heard until that appeal against the 10-point deduction has been determined. That could be possibly as late as March. Premier League relegation rivals Nottingham Forest, by the way, have also been charged today with financial breaches. In the EFL, there were crucial wins for some of our teams at both ends of League Two, with the leaders Stockport County beating Walsall 3-1 at Edgeley Park. Paddy Madden's spot kick, the clincher. Crewe are just 3 points outside the playoff positions after their 3rd win in a row. 2-1 at home to Swindon. Barrow, who are 4th, drew 2-2 at Sutton. And 4th bottom Salford City earned their first win in 12 league games. Substitute Kelly and Mai's late goal enough to take all 3 points at Crawley Town. Great result for Salford. Now, think of players at the Asian Cup, and the likes of Tottenham's Son Heung-min or Liverpool's Wataru Endo might spring to mind. But it isn't only Premier League stars who are proudly competing in Qatar. Sean C, who plays for Northern Premier League table toppers Radcliffe, is part of a Hong Kong squad aiming to upset the odds. Something Sean, who's from Salford, has already done by just being there, hasn't he? And as he told me from his training camp, he can't quite believe it.
The opening game the other day, I think it was like 80-something thousand they had in the stadium. And then even for our game yesterday, 15,500 it was.
Your family, your wife, your young boy, your mum and dad are coming to a game as well. How much are you looking forward to that, and how proud are they of you?
Yeah, massively proud. My little boy, he's 8 years old now. He plays football. You can just see how proud he is of me. To be able to see them in the stadium on the last game when I walk out, that'll be a nice touch. That, yeah.
It really will be, including your dad, Sean, who was born in Hong Kong. I mean, it must be huge for him.
Yeah, because again, it was my dad taking me everywhere when I was younger to all my training sessions. At every game, so like he's always been there. He's always been so supportive.
You've got a lot of support back home as well in Radcliffe. I've been chatting to people at the club, Sean. How much do you appreciate that, and you know what you've had since moving to Radcliffe?
Yeah, massively. It came out of the blue, this call up, and they was fine about it. They was telling me like it's they understand how much of a big opportunity it is, and. Yeah, they've been so supportive about it.
Have you had a bit of gentle stick from the lads at Radcliffe, Sean? Because obviously we're in the freezing cold here. Don't worry about us. You're over there in the lovely sunshine playing for Hong Kong.
Yeah, not too much. We had a little training camp first in Abu Dhabi, so I sent the lads a few photos when I was there, and yeah,
just to rub it in, eh?
Yeah, just a little bit. But they all took it well. So yeah, it's a great. To be honest, it's a great bunch of lads.
You're carrying a knock, so you didn't feature in the match against the United Arab Emirates. How proud a moment will it be? How big a moment in your life will it be when you turn out for Hong Kong at the Asian Cup?
It's a feeling I won't be able to explain, and again, like to have my family here, it's just going to be that extra special.
What a proud moment that will be for Sean. Some sad news, I'm afraid, from Rugby League. The former Salford captain, Malcolm Olker, has died at the age of 45. Malcolm spent his entire career with the club, making 292 appearances, scored 75 tries as well. He won 2 caps for England as well. He was a terrific player, Malcolm. Roger, our thoughts, of course, are with Malcolm's friends and family.
Yeah, absolutely, Richard. Thank you very much. As I mentioned, Kay will be here with the weather in a moment, but back in the summer, when the weather was a bit warmer, we told you how a group of Manchester youngsters had been raising money so that their Ukrainian classmate could go home to visit his dad. The children, who are in Year 5, got the money together so that Theodore could go back to Lviv at Christmas. He's now returned to school, but his friends want to help more youngsters, as Stuart Pollitt's been finding out.
Reunited once again. Theodore and his dad meeting in Lviv. In the summer, Theodore's school friends did a camping out fundraiser to pay for his trips back to Ukraine.
Actually, it means all the world to us. It's so amazing when children of that age are thinking of the future, are thinking what is happening in the world.
What was the best bit about it?
Seeing a lot of my family. And I slept with my dad all the time.
It was a boys' room at that time during our stay because, yeah, they both snore.
No, I don't.
Yes, they do.
No, I
don't. Theodore and his friend Liam have started a new fundraiser, cycling the distance between Manchester and the Middle East to raise funds for children affected by the situation in Gaza.
I just felt as if it's unfair, so we need to do another thing for other people as well.
So is this one harder than the tent one that you did last time?
Probably, yeah.
This is one tough challenge for the fundraising friends. They've got to cycle a total of 2,400 miles indoors and outdoors, but luckily they're pretty keen on encouraging each other. They've currently travelled more than 500 miles.
We started there and we have to get all the way over to Palestine.
We keep on going, we'll make it and it'll be a joy.
This weekend, the group did an outdoor ride alongside Alan.
We did about 10 miles along the River Mersey. Oh, it's a tremendous thing that they're doing, yeah. Yeah, a lot of effort, and it's worthwhile.
And whether it's cycling inside or out, this group are determined to do more miles and raise more money. Did you enjoy that?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I can't speak.
Stuart Pollitt, BBC North West Tonight, Urmston.
Should say no children were injured in the making of that film. They worked hard, didn't they? Come on, Aidan, no pain, no gain. Right, let's have a look at the weather. It's all important. Kay, is there snow coming?
There is some snow coming. Yes, there is. Not for everyone, but for some. So let's get into the detail. We have got the risk of a wintry mix of rain, sleet and snow. And with that, we get the risk of ice as well. So we do have warnings in force. Now, there's plenty of warnings out and about right across the northwest from midnight tonight until midnight on Thursday. So an indication of how long this cold weather's going to last. We'll get into double figure temperature-wise into the weekend. And with that, wet and windy. Come back to that in a minute. This beautiful picture was sent in this morning from Pedro. Gorgeous blue skies. Many of us saw conditions like this, but temperatures for some spots didn't get above freezing. The air's been coming from the north. Now, it's going to slightly veer to come down from the west as we head overnight. That's going to allow showers to track further inland. And this little feature is going to bring a bigger risk, more especially to North Lancashire and Cumbria as we head through tomorrow. So at the minute, it is mostly dry. The Isle of Man have seen just 1 or 2 wintry flurries, and that will continue as we head overnight tonight. So about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, I think for western parts, you're likely to see a wintry mix of rain, sleet and snow. Elsewhere, we will stay largely dry down to about -3 and -4. So, yeah, tomorrow morning, 1 or 2 flurries for many, particularly across more northern parts. That feature then becomes more widespread. Now, we're talking about for the Pennines, around about 2 to 5 centimetres. By the end of the afternoon, could potentially get up to about 8 to 10 centimetres from this feature. Northern parts of Lancashire and Cumbria, but the air behind it becomes a little bit milder, so it will turn back to rain. That feature then will continue to push down to the south as we head overnight into Wednesday. So you could all wake up Wednesday morning with a slight dusting, but Wednesday, a good deal of dry and fine weather. High pressure builds for Friday. Calm conditions look to the west. We turn back to more autumnal weather, wet and windy for the weekend. So for Wednesday morning, risk of ice. Bear that in mind first thing, but a lot of dry and fine weather. Good spells of sunshine. We start to see a return of wintry showers as we head towards the evening. Some temperatures not getting above freezing, and a widespread sharp frost, Roger, overnight into Thursday, -7 in some spots.
Yikes.
Overnight into Thursday.
Properly cold.
Yeah, cold.
Your BBC local radio station in the morning will keep you up to date with any travel disruption as a result of the cold weather. Stay in touch with BBC News Online as well. We'll have another bulletin for you at 10:30. Thanks for watching. Good night. Alive.